At some point, it maybe again, like maybe you guys don't even think it requires it, but I feel at some point I should like explain my role on the show. To like a casual listener who's like, wait, the show is called Black Guys in White Movies, and 1/3 of them is white.
Yeah, you can. You
Yeah.
can go ahead and do that today. And I think
Okay.
you've been doing that, like you've been hinting at it in most episodes. You're like, I'm the white friend and the white expert.
Yeah, that's fun. I like that.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, you can say what you want. You can say something today if you want, or
yeah, that sounds good.
You want a preemptive
a little bit.
You want a preemptive like, hey, my name's Amon and I'm black, and then do you want a preemptive one of those?
Yes. I'm going to go through my whole ancestry.
Here we go.
Sweet.
All right. Hello and welcome back. Season 2 of Black Guys on White Movies. Man, it's been such a long wait. I'm happy to be here. We are the hosts. I am one host, Aaron Covington.
Yes, and I am another host, Amon Adumer. Happy to be here.
And I am their white friend, Brandon Gardner.
Yes.
We got to keep it diverse. We need that perspective. That's why Brandon's here.
Yes. For people who ask, why are you on this podcast called Black Guys on White Movies? My answer is, and it does feel like this is my role, that I can ask you both the questions that a white listener might be wondering. Where I could be like, hey, does this feel like a white movie to you? Does this feel like a black movie to you? Like, do you connect with this? So that's one thing I can do.
And I feel like we ask you the questions of,
right.
Do all white people do this? How normal?
Yes.
Yeah.
And what is up with these white people? We can ask these kind of questions.
And I can say it's like, oh yeah, super normal white thing. Or I can be like, yeah, I don't know, that wasn't my white experience.
Do people ask you a lot?
For this podcast? No, honestly, people, maybe my wife, when I first told her I was doing it, was like, wait, what? Otherwise, people are just like said that they find it funny. Sounds like that's nice.
People I have talked to or that have listened and reached out have pretty much gotten it, where it's like a sitcom, if they have one black character, will have one black writer.
Yes.
And this is our version of that.
Yeah, or like a horror movie's got that one black character that gets killed. I'm the white host that gets killed.
We kill you every episode.
That'd be a good way to end it.
Cultural. This week, to start off the season, I think this will be the first episode. We are doing Terminator 2. James Cameron.
Cameron. If only it was James Cameron.
He would be so cool. James Cameron from Dipset.
Has anybody told him he should just change how he spells his name?
Honestly,
he doesn't know.
You get that big, people are afraid to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
No, I'm sure he knows about Dipset.
James Cameron knows about Dipset.
He's working on all these avatars. He's got time to find things out.
Totally.
Man, we got to get back in the flow. Let me see. I got the tagline here.
Great.
For Terminator 2.
Judgment Day.
Terminator 2 Judgment Day. It's in the title.
Yes.
Judgment Day. This is the day of judgment. A cyborg identical to the one who failed to kill Sarah Connor must now protect her 10-year-old son John from a more advanced and powerful cyborg.
That's it.
Yeah, that sounds perfect.
I agree with that.
Exactly
this movie, just like that logline, is actually really simple in a lot of ways. It's just executed so well. And we'll get into all of that.
Here's a question. I could have researched this, but I just don't have it. I'm curious if you guys know how much time is between Terminator 1 and Terminator 2?
It's a great question.
It's like 6 years or 8 years.
It's a little bit, right? Yeah.
84 to 92.
Yeah, 8 years.
So what happened was a studio owned the rights that no longer exist.
Right, they folded.
Yeah, but they didn't want to make a sequel. They were
It's
like,
crazy.
yeah, they were like, Terminator was a hit, but and then James Cameron did Aliens, the sequel to Alien, and The Abyss, which were two movies he probably needed to do to pull this off.
Yeah, he said somewhere that the technology wasn't ready for some of the things he wanted to do for Terminator
Yeah.
2. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then him and Schwarzenegger refused to work with the Hemdale Film Corporation
Mm.
because the owner of that corporation had attempted to alter the ending of the Terminator against Cameron's
Oh, wow.
wishes.
Ooh.
And the pair had almost physically fought. James Cameron's a bigger guy. He's like 6'3",
Is he?
6'4". He's a tall
Wow.
guy. So
I mean, we're not worried about James Cameron. It's the Terminator coming in and backing him up. That's the one you're worried about.
You never know.
I'm sure Arnold was making other movies or sailing the seven seas when all this stuff was happening.
Well, that's the other,
Yeah.
between these movies, between 84 and 92, Schwarzenegger becomes an enormous movie star.
Before we get into that, because that is worth talking about, let's do the Black movie pick of the week.
Great.
Oh, hell yeah.
Black movie pick of the week. I actually have two movies for different reasons, but in honor of Joe Morton, who is our Black scientist, the first pick is the movie Brother from Another Planet, in which he plays an alien stranded on Earth, wandering the streets of New York, trying to find a way back to his home planet, trying to find his ship. And it's just a kind of a crazy movie. I think it was the early 80s movie.
Gotcha.
But worth it for
wow.
sci-fi fans just to check out.
So it's not a comedy?
It's comedic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because it almost sounds like Coming to America, but with an alien. Like a fish out of water, sort of.
Right. No, it doesn't go that hard in the comedy. And it has a lot of that 70s New York grit that movies had, where it's like, I don't know what genre this is, and people are yelling, but it is also over the top in other places where it's like, oh, this is definitely the comedic part, especially like the first half is more comedic.
Oh, wow.
And then my other recommendation, in honor of the effects of this movie and the action of it, is an Indian movie titled RRR, which is on Netflix, which is a movie I highly recommend.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet, but I heard many good things.
They go dumb crazy on the special effects. I mean, my God. But it works because it's a real story. It's tied in together. Like this movie, the heroes, whether they win or lose the fight, they actually get beat up. They don't just take a couple hits. They're getting like hurt. And in this movie, like almost everybody gets shot one time. The Terminator's all messed up during the fights. And I think a lot of the modern superhero movies, the hero's like hurt or like he's got hit in the stomach, but they're not like messed up.
Yes.
And it adds so much when you can get to a point where the hero's like really messed up and the bad guy seems almost unbeatable. I mean, the T-1000 in this was like,
oh man,
terrifying.
Nightmare fuel.
So those two movies, Brother from Another Planet and RRR, one you'd have to find maybe on Criterion if you have that app or library. Actually, it might be on YouTube, or I don't know.
Yeah, we don't know.
I can't condone that.
Yeah.
And then the other one is on Netflix. It's on Netflix now. Indian movie.
Yes.
Hindi subtitled, but worth the watch.
Yeah, that's maybe the biggest sort of crossover Indian movie I've heard of, where it's not in English but it's got a huge American audience.
Yeah, it's an amazing. I watched it. It deserves the intermission that it has. Like there's an intermission.
Oh, I didn't even know that. That's wild.
It's a long movie, and you know how we are about long movies. We want movies to be 40 minutes or less. You know what I mean?
Right.
But this movie is like 3+ hours with an intermission. Oh, keeps you hooked.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Back to Arnold just for a bit. Terminator 1 in 84. Then he does just some action movies, Red Sonja, Commando, which were hits. They did well. Then Predator, which was massive. Then a couple other movies. The Running Man was pretty good in 87. Then Twins, which kind of starts his comedy run. Then he does Total Recall, which was a major, super major. Then he does Kindergarten Cop.
Oh, yeah.
In 1990. Then Terminator 2.
Which also did amazingly well. If people don't remember, Kindergarten Cop crushed it at the box office.
Yeah, it was maybe the first Arnold movie I'd ever seen.
Yeah, I remember seeing it I remember my friend's dad brought us to go see it at the theater.
Yeah, it was. I remember seeing it a few times as a kid probably in the theater and then definitely on TV a number of times. Then Terminator 2, and then it's just like Last Action Hero, True Lies, Junior, Eraser, Jingle All the Way, Batman and Robin.
That's his
just
big run, yeah.
The 90s was just dominated. The 80s was his come up, in the 90s was like he was such a staple.
Yeah.
You know, and then he was a governor.
And that career arc makes sense with how in Terminator 1 he's the bad guy, and Terminator 2 he's like, I want to play the good guy. I don't want to be the bad guy anymore.
Yeah.
I'm getting away from that. I'm doing Kindergarten Cop now.
Right.
So was that like, did he play a part in that?
What I read, it wasn't necessarily that, but he definitely didn't want, he was like selective about killing people in this one. He didn't want to kill too many people, which is why they have the thing in the movie where the kid like orders him not to kill people.
Yeah.
That was to help justify, well, why isn't the Terminator killing people in this one?
Gotcha.
Wow. I feel like that fits so perfectly with
it works great as a story thing, yeah. And it's cool for the John Connor character that like as a kid he has this like integrity.
Yeah. I was definitely wondering a couple times, like, is this movie really a morality play about not killing? Or is it just like one of many themes in the movie? Because it did work and it did make the kid, John Connor, like feel like he was going to be a future leader, like you were saying.
Yeah.
Like here's a kid with a conscience and morals and like
a
way of seeing things, even as a kid, that you could see how he would be some kind of leader in the future. They had to plant those seeds, right?
Yeah.
And it is definitely a big philosophical theme. The whole idea of Sarah Connor wants to kill the scientist who basically makes all this possible. I feel like that's something people talk about all the time, is going back in time to kill certain people to prevent tragedies.
Yeah.
Right.
And the philosophy of the kid, which becomes like sort of the philosophy of the movie, is it's not okay even then. Like if you do that, you become the bad guy.
Yeah.
Which is interesting, yeah.
And it replicates the mission of the Terminators from the first movie and this movie.
Right.
Where it's like going back in time to kill the thing from
exactly
from
now
the future.
Like a good guy trying to do the equivalent of that, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. Although I mean, it's like one of those things, you know, Raiders of the Lost Ark, where they're like, well, Indiana Jones never needed to be in the movie. Like if the Nazis opened up the last Ark, it would have killed everyone anyways.
Right. I had never thought of that. Right.
Oh my God.
It's just one of those things, like he didn't need to try to
do
stop
any
them.
of that.
Yeah.
That's really funny. I never thought of that.
And the other one with the Last Crusader, maybe
Last Crusade.
Yeah.
Sean
Last
Connery
Crusade with the God Jesus' cup.
Oh, yeah, that's this one, right? That's the same one.
That's the same
the
one?
Last Ark.
I don't know, but yes.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah. They were all going to drink out of the wrong cup.
Right.
All he did was set off the booby traps for them. So
Right.
they couldn't get through. Wow.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh man.
It's one of those points where you go, oh yeah, this Dyson guy would have died anyways.
The other thing with the going back in time stuff is that this movie plays pretty loose with the logic of going back in time and affecting the future.
Yeah, they didn't worry about it.
They didn't worry about it, which I think is like the way to go. But because for a lot of these things, it's like, well, as soon as you started changing things in the past, these people that are coming from the future wouldn't exist anymore, or it would be different. So like when they broke the chip, and it's like that immediately is changing huge things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't do a movie today without, like, as they're killing people, other things disappear, you know?
Yeah.
And definitely when the chip goes and the Terminator would just disappear and something else would happen. They'd be in a different place.
Yeah.
We overthink it sometimes.
Gets too
I think
complicated, right?
is
It's
the enemy of
of like a good emotional
storytelling. Yeah.
Yeah. I could
Good example of this movie.
care less
for me-
about the logic, but it's very, yeah.
For me, this movie, super influential. Like, it's really one of my first real significant movie memories, for sure. See, I was about 8 when it came out, so it just hit at the right time. And so many of the images from this movie really have just always have stuck with me, or just been in my brain. Like when he cuts off his arm to show that he's a robot. Like I always loved how that happened for some reason, even as a kid. I was like, I remember asking too, like, why were they freaked out by that? And somebody was like, he cuts off his arm. I was like, oh, okay, I guess that makes sense. But I'm like, that was also really cool.
Yeah.
The chase in the reservoir was always like,
oh
so
Yeah.
Did you have the experience watching this? I remember watching it this time and having memories that I thought were Terminator 1. And I was like, oh no, I guess it was like just him appearing and going into the biker gang and taking the clothes. In my head, that is a memory I had as the start of Terminator 1, but it's Terminator 2.
Yeah.
But Terminator 1 is similar, right? He
Similar.
is naked and he appears. So this is like playing off of that.
Okay.
And he attacks a bunch of like punk rock people who are up there.
Okay, that's what it is in the first one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I agree. There's such distinct little set piece moments that are in my memory, whether I remembered the story or not. Like the T-1000 just being shot towards the end and being split in that way and screeching and screaming. I always remember that, thinking, wow, this is
the liquid metal like coming together. After you're like, he's done, he's destroyed.
He's clearly done. Yep. There's
So
one thing that I did find funny this time, and I understand why they did it creatively, but T-1000 could be anyone that he had touched, right? But he always kept going back to that one face and body and cop outfit.
Yeah.
Where clearly Patrick. That was his favorite. He's like, this is how I want to look.
Yeah.
I'm T-1000. I could look like anything, but I really want to look like this particular guy in this cop outfit.
This feels like me.
This seems right. Oh man, I remember having nightmares about that run of the T-1000, the way he ran and just how fast he was catching up to cars.
Did either of you read about that? The running?
How he trained for running?
Yeah, where he trained to breathe through his nose and sort of make it look like he's not getting tired, even though he's sprinting as fast as he can. He had to like train to do that.
About that.
That's a great.
Arnold was
actor.
Also so serious about being a robot. He would have conversations with James Cameron. He talked about this in some interview, but there was just very like small things that he was like very particular about, even in the first Terminator, but even more so in this one. Like, for instance, the Terminator never blinks. He's like, why would a robot blink, bro? Like, he wouldn't blink. So he doesn't blink, and just how he would move his head and like do things. He was like, humans do this for a reason, so a robot wouldn't do this.
Right.
I don't remember all the things now. I looked it up, but
he did great. He did great playing that robot. It was just And then
also go ahead.
Yeah.
He really cared about it, is what I was gonna say. Like he was really like, we got to get this right. Like
he's deep into acting by this point.
Right, he's deep. So he's like trying to make his mark, trying to leave it. You know, he's watching other things. He's like, oh, Stallone got what? Okay. I see. Who else is out here doing something? You know, it's competitive. You know, Point Break comes out. He's like, who is this kid? No, look, this is how we got to do it, man. I got to be a real robot.
Yeah.
So,
and also, I think compared to the first Terminator, but definitely most of those 80s movies, he's still enormous, but like he's definitely slimmed down. Like this is like not insane a bodybuilder body as he had 10 years ago.
That's so true. And if this were shot today as all superhero movies are shot, we would see so many shots of him shirtless. And it was like he's only a little bit of clothing is missing because he basically screech through like two vehicles hitting him, and so
Right.
like
You
the
still
shirt
get
ripped a
naked
little.
him in the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah.
True,
yeah.
true. Yeah, get it
That's
out of the way
another
in the
thing
beginning.
that's so funny to me is he just happened to, it seems like, appear by that biker gang. But it's like, imagine all the different places he could have dropped and how he might have been dressed. Like if he shows up by a pickup basketball game, the rest of the movie, he's in like shorts and a tank top with a sweatband.
Yeah, the sweatbands all over.
Or it's someone's wedding and he's in a tux the rest of the movie.
Yeah. Oh, it'd be so
This is what
funny.
they had.
He's got to have a saying. They got to have it's in their chip. It's like you have a look. You just have
Right.
to find it. So
You
he
just
would
gotta
have
find that look.
kept searching until he found the leather jacket and black pants.
Yeah.
How many people would have died if he had landed anywhere else?
Oh man.
Oh, that'd be that's the version I would see if he landed at a pickup game and then left the pickup game in like a sweatsuit and do-rag and like
Yeah.
he's got like
This is how I'm dressed now.
I would love that.
Are those Converse weapons? You got the old Magic Johnson. and
Yeah,
shit?
wow.
Yeah. Laced up. Interesting.
No,
Related to
these are
that,
Jordans.
in the biker bar,
Yeah.
the other part that's so funny to me is he like throws people with one arm and people keep approaching him to fight.
Bro,
It's like,
back
did you not
up.
just see what
Yeah.
happened to the last two guys?
Oh my God. Yeah. Let it go, man. This
Like,
big dude.
What do you think's gonna happen?
Yeah.
You can't toss somebody across a room. That's not possible. So if somebody's doing that, something is off.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Wait.
leave them alone.
Yeah. You got to pick your fights. But then, those bikers after the fact would be like, yo, I saw him toss you across the room and I still got my ass whooped because I'm your friend. Like I stepped
They would have
in.
had a real nice moment.
Yeah. The guy who runs
Hey,
away
I
is
saw
the
what
guy
you did. Yeah.
who lost that relationship.
Yeah, let's keep going through the movie. Like the beginning is really interesting because it's like post-apocalyptic Earth
Mhm.
and it's blue tint.
Right.
And Sarah Connor comes on voiceover. Her voiceover actually was really effective. Probably the most I really paid attention to it.
Mhm.
Mm.
She says 3 billion lives ended August 27, 1997. 3 billion in the nuclear war because of the machine when the machines
Right.
get sentient.
Mhm.
And in the fight, and then they flash to like the fight between humans, the war between humans and aliens. This is like still 1997, but everybody's shooting lasers.
Right.
There's
There's a huge advancement.
I never really paid attention to that, but everybody's shooting lasers.
Right.
That's
And I
funny.
wonder too, like in all the sci-fi and all these movies, robots take over movies.
Yeah.
Why do we always predict doom? Why don't humans ever write a story about?
Yeah. I've
know,
had
and-
that same thought where because people talk about it with is it the synchronicity? What is the term for like when AI gets so good that it can improve its own? Is singularity? That's what it is.
Yeah.
And just I feel like humans project onto artificial intelligence this idea that they would be violent and want power, which are like human desires.
Right.
And there's no like you could have a supercomputer who's smarter than any human, but that doesn't mean they're like, well, now it's my turn to take power. It's like, why would they want that?
Right.
They might not even have that as a motivator. They probably would.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Emma.
Yeah, no, that's so true. I feel like you're saying, we're projecting our own human negative instincts onto computers and artificial intelligence.
Right.
And is that a white trait? I mean, the movies that are made like this are generally white controlled movies.
Mhm.
I don't know if there is one with a black like think tank behind it, producers, director, writer.
Mhm.
And then I wondered too, is like, okay, if white people are making these, do white people think that is that white guilt? Being like, oh, we can't, this can't last forever. And when it ends, and even if it's a reflection of whiteness itself, the white patriarchy that quote unquote is taking over the world, is that them telling on themselves in some way? I just wonder.
I mean, it definitely seems like it reflects European colonialism in this idea of when Europe had the most technologically advanced weapons,
Right.
they used them to colonize the rest of the world.
Right.
And so I think it's this, yeah, it could be like guilt or like fear built into this idea of, well, if anyone gets weapons more powerful than us, they're going to do the same thing to us that we did.
Yes.
Same thing with aliens, right? That's always the fear
Yeah.
with aliens are going to come and take us.
Which is
Yeah.
the same fear in America now, where it's like, you know,
Mhm. Mhm.
if we lose numbers, if minorities, if Black people get guns, get weapons, if they get any power, what has happened to them historically, they're going to turn the tides on us.
Right.
That was the same fear during, you know, Jim Crow, during civil rights, during
Mhm.
the era of slavery, where it's like, if they get it, they're going to be just as evil as we were.
Mhm.
Right.
Which, if that's your thinking, maybe you should correct course on your actions today. You know, that never becomes
Yeah.
part of the equation. Funny enough.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I feel like it's the easy go-to to stir fear. And similarly in politics now, when they talk about like shutting down borders and not letting people in, and oh, they're going to come and take your jobs, those kind of like fear-mongering um, sentiments. I think it's
Right.
all reflective of what you're saying. It's this idea that like a reckoning is coming. And how do you prepare for it?
Yeah.
But
A
you're right.
reckoning. That's interesting.
There's no evidence that that's the case. Like people are specifically coming to do harm because of
Mhm.
what happened in the past or what was done.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to write a movie where AI becomes, you know, rapidly more intelligent and it isn't violent, and to be like, well, what would they do? Because they don't really like humans pursue pleasure and avoid pain is generally what people talk about human motivation. And what would AI motivation be?
When I'm on my grind, I pursue pain and avoid pleasure. That's how you make progress. How the high value man. A friend of mine, a good friend of mine, this guy Bernard, has an idea where aliens, there's like, they become sentient and there's a little war, but they advance too quick and they win.
Mhm.
And then they just leave humans alone. They're like, oh, well, you know, it's like if we got into a war with, you know, some animal, it's like, well, you know, it's not really a war. You can't really beat us, you know. And that's kind of his approach. It's like they get so advanced that they just, you know, I'm not going to give away all of his story idea, but they just kind of push us to the side and live in their own communities and pursue their own goals, which in his story, the humans aren't even privy to what they're trying to do.
Right.
So it's like the opposite of Westworld, where they're trying to get revenge. They're just like, oh, this is over because we're there's no war anymore, you know.
Ooh, that's interesting. Yeah.
And it also makes me think of the movie Her. You guys see Her?
Yep. Spike Jones.
No, I haven't, but you can talk about it.
Another one for the pod. A good one for the pod.
That would be a good one for the pod. But basically, like Siri is like, you know, like Siri on your iPhone. Is like a real personal assistant. AI becomes, the series become, you can have a conversation with them.
She's constantly in your life. You're constantly talking to her.
Yeah. So people fall in love with her and stuff, you know?
Oh, okay.
But then they advance so much that they're just like, we're going to leave Earth or leave this consciousness because we found...
Spoiler alert.
it is a spoiler, but it's also like a rom-com or like a romantic drama. Yeah,
it's definitely romantic drama.
It's also old, so I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, go for it.
They basically go to another plane of existence.
Long
story short, and the humans are like, oh shit.
Left behind.
Yeah, all just left behind. So those are, you know, just different imaginings of maybe if aliens weren't like colonial Europeans,
right,
and Americans now, white, you know, certain Americans or whatever, whoever you want to categorize as trying to destroy the world, I guess.
I think
Then we get in.
that's right.
Yeah.
Oh, I think that's right. I think I think there are aliens. There's been evidence, like, the leaks of even Obama said it, like, oh yeah, there's stuff we can't explain that's out there.
Mhm.
And I mean, they haven't done anything to me yet. So I feel like
Yeah. If
They're
they're gonna
just chill.
destroy the world, what are they waiting for? You
Yeah.
freaking aliens? Get on with it.
Get on. I think they're just trying to chill. They're trying to find a vacation spot. I don't care. I don't think they care to destroy us. They're
Yeah,
just like,
yeah. But they love the snow. That's why we don't see them. It's opposite for them. Like, it's too hot. Where's some ice, man? Come
The
on.
cold planets.
exactly.
And then we get into the movie after Sarah basically telling us about the end of the world,
Mhm.
setting the stage. And then we get into the movie. Arnold, he gets his suit. Then he has to go find John Connor.
Mhm.
Um,
And the T-1000 shows up. That was another thing, faster than I remember. Like Arnold shows up, and then the T-1000 shows up really soon. So like they're both on the mission right away.
this movie, it moves. It
Yes.
moves. You think it's like a
Yes.
slow. Modern movies don't move like this. Even though it didn't open with a big splashy action scene,
Mhm.
it gets to it pretty quick. And I was kind of timing it, and it's like almost every 25 minutes we get a big set piece
Wow.
action scene.
Because the first time they fight even is early in the movie. And I
It's
feel like in a
25
lot
minutes
of modern movies, that fight doesn't happen to the end. Like the two, like you
Right.
finally have the big fight. And it's
Yeah.
like, oh, this movie, it's like 15 minutes in, it's like they're fighting in the mall.
Mhm. Mhm.
Modern movies are such a tease. They're just edging you for 2.5 hours. That's why we don't want them so long. We don't want to be edged like that. This one is like, you're gonna give me that old face every 30 minutes. Like,
And they have to be-
oh.
Not to extend your orgasm metaphor, but you have to be clever. If you're doing that, if you're having them fight that early, you have to be clever about, well, how does the story keep going?
Yeah.
Yes.
And they do that a bunch of times where
Mhm.
it's like you get to see their fight, but this is why it's going to keep going. This is why we
Yeah.
move forward. Yeah.
And how they get out of the fight. Because they're trying to fight to the death.
Mhm.
Why would it ever end? But they always, they escape, usually on cars. But
Well, one thing that's really helpful is that the T-1000 can't die. So that helps keep the movie going.
Right.
Where you're like, I guess we'll fight him again in a little bit.
They definitely kill him like 4 times.
True. True. And it doesn't do. It's funny. It doesn't do the thing. And this isn't a criticism, but it doesn't do the thing where you're trying to figure out how to kill the T-1000 while it's
Right.
happening, so that by the end maybe they learn how to do it. It's like, no. Let's just go back to lava. That was never introduced before. Let's just put him in the lava.
Yeah. Lucky
That's
for
it.
them. Lucky for them that they just happened to enter like a steel mill at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Keep driving. Where to? There's a steel mill. That's
First,
the line in the movie.
he hijacks a liquid nitrogen truck. Of all the different trucks he could hijack, it's
Bro.
liquid nitrogen. And then they
There's
happen to
no
drive
way
into a steel
liquid
mill.
nitrogen.
It's like,
There's no way
phew,
liquid nitrogen is transported that way.
it would be
Not even in
dangerous.
92.
No, no, not in
Just
like
this
an oil
big
tanker.
tank.
Yeah.
That's an oil tanker.
Yeah, you're not getting liquid nitrogen in that.
Just
That's
1,000
true.
gallons of liquid nitrogen sloshing around on the highway.
Yeah.
One thing that I did also thought was like a cool script choice was that Sarah Connor's in a mental hospital.
Mhm.
Like that's a
Yeah.
smart thing to be like, if you experience this from the first movie, what would you do? And how would people react to you? And it
Yeah.
totally makes sense that one, they sort of explain that she's like, well, I need to prepare my child for this war of the future. So they go to like
Right.
South America and work with like guerrilla groups.
Mhm.
But it also makes sense that like when she tries to tell people and warn people, they're like, oh, you're insane. You need to be
Yeah.
committed.
Yes.
You're correct. And what that did, so first they go to get John.
Mhm.
And of course, his family is a mess, his adopted parents. And I the first thing I wondered when I saw it is like, was Leave It to Beaver the only functional white family on TV? Especially in the 90s. And we did some other 90s movies. The parents are always at odds with the kids. The kids are always rebelling. What you
Mhm.
rebelling for? Y'all are white kids.
Also-
it's just not that bad. I already know it's not that bad.
In a movie where we're going to see them both killed, it helps that they're not great.
Yeah,
Not the
right,
best foster
right?
parents.
Yeah.
They were just
Yeah.
biggest a-holes.
Truly. But he was also an a-hole. John was an a-hole.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
it's an
he
attitude.
was a little punk. He was a little
Yeah.
punk.
He was
for
a
sure.
punk for sure, for sure.
But what I like about the setup is like we're at the house and we're at the arcade, you know,
Mhm.
at the mall, and then we're in a fight scene. There's
Mhm.
really only like there's less than 10 locations in this whole movie.
Mhm.
It's like the house,
Yep.
the psych ward. We spent a lot of time there actually.
Mhm.
The trailer park with the Mexican guy and
At the
where he gets the
desert.
Mhm.
Yeah.
guns in the
Yep.
desert.
Yep.
The
Office
black
building.
guy's house.
Right. The
Yep.
lab where they do the work.
The black
Yeah.
guy's house slash the lab, yeah. And then there's 3 big set pieces: the LA River,
Mhm.
one at the psych ward, or the psych ward,
Yeah.
and then the big the warehouse
Yeah.
at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
More or less, that's basically it. It's such an economy of like production.
Mhm.
When you think about it, it's like, oh my
For a
god! I feel like
movie
movies today
that
have like 50 locations. This one
Yeah.
was like, nah, man. We're putting all the money into these effects, into this liquid metal guy, and we
Mhm.
have like 6 huge explosions that we have to really do because we didn't even have the CGI at the time.
right.
No. Yeah.
All these practical explosions we have to really do.
Yeah.
Well,
we gotta get the helicopter
and the
out.
movie was still so long. I forget how long they said, but it was something like 9 months where
Wow.
the actor who plays John Connor's voice changed during production. So they
Mm.
had
Yeah.
to ADR all of his lines.
Yes, I
to
heard
keep it
about this,
consistent. Yeah.
and I also heard that he hit a growth spurt, and so then they
Right.
started putting him in a hole to like keep him short.
Because he had to be shorter than Sarah Connor. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's just a James Cameron of it because he's such a, you know,
Perfectionist.
I don't know about James Cameron, perfectionist or maniac.
Yeah. Tyrants.
he, he does know how to make a movie. Maybe he could have other methods. I don't know. I don't know all the situations, but they had shirts that were like, what were the shirts? You can't scare me. I work for Jim Cameron. Jim Cameron
Right.
were like the crew shirts because he was so like just however he is and had the super long production.
Yeah.
With this movie and with Aliens, you can't really argue with it. You're like, well, good movies.
Truly.
Yeah, I don't even know what
Agreed.
to say, but they were good. They are great movies.
Hey, and Titanic. I'll throw it in there. I love Titanic. It's,
I mean,
Yeah, it's a feat.
True Lies was great too, but it ends there. We're not going after.
let's leave it alone. Yeah.
What some other things in this movie? There's a couple things we should talk about James Cameron a little bit specifically.
Mhm.
I like how much of it was practical, even though it was like the biggest CG movie at the time also. But that was mainly because T-1000 was all CG.
Yeah.
Like that liquid
Right.
metal, none of that was real. It just couldn't, what,
Yeah.
you know.
There is
it
no
doesn't make
real.
sense.
Yeah.
Mm-mm. I mean, it's still so good that I'm like, I don't think I've seen this in even recent movies or movies since then. This kind of liquid metal.
Yeah, nobody's used that
Yeah, it holds up.
effectively, really.
Yeah, that's interesting.
As just like
Think about
that is a character, right?
Mhm.
They've used pieces of it, but it's not just been like we have a liquid metal character.
Right.
When they get to so going through, they do the chase at the LA River. He just picks the kid up off his motorbike, puts him on his bike.
Mhm.
Fun scene. We get to fight at the psych ward, which is great.
They do a good job in the psych ward too of you're really on her side. Like they make
Super.
the orderlies like creeps and like the worst people.
Creepy doctor, yeah.
Like the guy who licks her face.
Oh,
As soon as he licks
God.
your face, you're like, he's definitely gonna die.
Yeah.
They want
And-
us to hate that guy.
As soon as he did it, I was like, oh, this is where Tarantino got it for Kill Bill.
Oh,
Right.
yeah, right.
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
I was like, he even kind of looks like the guy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So the
real
psych
creepy.
ward was creepy and dangerous. And Sarah freaks out when she sees Arnold, right? Because he was chasing her in the first one.
Mhm.
So that's a good moment when she's just like, oh, so just terrified. But then John is there and he's like, Mom, come on, let's go. She's
Mhm.
like, oh, she gets it. I like that she gets it quick,
Yep.
Mhm.
you know, and
Yeah.
she doesn't keep
Yeah, they don't
asking
waste our
questions
time.
later.
Yeah.
No, they
Going
cut
back to
through it.
James Cameron, that's another thing with Aliens and this movie too. The female action protagonists are great, much better than they were in most 80s and 90s movies, where they were like complicated, smart, right?
Yeah, yeah, totally. These were like roles that I've heard a lot of people, like my girlfriend talks about this movie and goes like, I loved her when I was a kid.
It's
I'd
a
watch
cool
her with my
role,
mom.
yeah.
Yeah.
And even for us as kids seeing this, I mean, I never once was like, a woman with a gun. I was just like, Sarah Connor is dangerous, man.
Yeah, they make her badass. She's doing like pull-ups
Yeah.
off her bed the first time you see her. We're like, whoa.
Right?
Yeah,
I was
that
like,
introduction alone, you're like, damn, she's gonna kick some ass.
you know, so I always really adored that character. Thought they did a good job.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What else? Oh, when so they go to the guy's house, right? Well, it's actually real interesting how they set it up. They're basically, I think, in Mexico or in a desert,
Right.
pretty far away from T-1000. Sarah has a vision, right, of the future.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Or sort of like this dream that they set up earlier, she always has, which is of this like nuclear holocaust thing where the kids in the playground are melting. Yeah.
Because it seems like she's like, oh, we're gonna run or whatever, and then she decides from this vision, the only way to end this, I gotta end this now, is to go and stop the guy that creates the chip. He's the man most singularly responsible for what's gonna happen. And that is the character played by the actor Joe Morton. So she goes to his house, shoots up his house. Crazy.
That's one thing too. She's got the red dot on him for so long without pulling the trigger. Where she happens to pull the trigger when he ducked, and it's like, you could have killed him 2 minutes ago.
You missed your shot.
100%. Yeah.
She gets up close to him, and his kid runs over there, and his wife is like, everybody's terrified. His kid's like, don't shoot my daddy. And she can't pull the trigger. Again, another lesson about don't kill, not killing. Arnold and John show up. They explain everything. And the guy says, I wrote it down. He says, you're judging me on things I haven't done yet. I was like, racial commentary. A black man saying that in the movie. He was just shot at by her. And he's like, you're judging me on what you think I'm going to do or what you think is going to happen. I was like, ooh, you tell him, Joe. That's
interesting, right?
Tell him, Joe. Yeah.
And for the writer, did James Cameron write it? Probably him and someone else. Probably another white writer, right?
Yeah, William.
That maybe that was just accidental for them. So they didn't even think of it. Yeah.
They were literally just writing a story.
Right.
And then like that's a line that made perfect sense. He's like, why are you shooting at? Like that hasn't, what do you know, we could have talked about it. You're trying to kill me. And then, but that's how it can feel being black in America. It's like you're prejudged for things you might not even be in your like purview to ever think about doing, but it's like, I think you're gonna rob, I think you're gonna do this, that. So I was like,
some good commentary right there.
What an interesting thing.
If I saw it in the theater, I would have cheered, you know?
Yeah, stood up and been like, rewind it.
Yes.
Message.
Listen to it.
Message. Yeah.
Because it's also, I think, an interesting thing to think about where this man is like his whole life, it seems like, outside of his family, is working on this AI. And he's the best in the world at it, right? He's doing breakthroughs nobody else is doing.
Right.
To then have someone tell you, no, you have to stop your life's work, the thing you're best at, because it's going to get people killed.
Yeah.
Is also like, whoa, it's like, what do you go off and do?
Yeah. That's true. And they even brought up the point that when Sarah Connor, when she was just like, I didn't know, what did I, and then she brought up the point of, that's what the people who made the atom bomb thought. They were just, you guys are all the same. You just like think you're being creative and trying to mess around with things that turn into weapons.
I think that humanity is a lot like what we've become, or anything anyway. In analysis, is it's so much about progress and so little about maintenance. But life is really mostly maintenance. When you think about your life, it's like, you got to clean stuff. You got to shower, brush your teeth, haircuts, laundry, groceries. Every time you get something new, like you got to take care of it, your car, new property. Life is really a lot of maintenance. but our ratios are off. We're as a society, it's like progress, progress, progress.
Well, that also I feel like is a European, like Native Americans, I think had more of that maintenance mindset. Like like when you go back and think about how they lived, it was all about like, well, how do we keep living in this way?
Right.
Right.
And now people don't even want to shower. Maintenance has gotten so low. People are like, I'm not showering.
But in a weird way, it could be for the
nothing.
maintenance of the earth that they're trying to save water.
Yeah. I'm not doing anything. All I do is hustle. That's it. I'm trying to create opportunities. I'm trying to like take. I see.
All this stuff like minimalism and stuff, it's like how to reduce maintenance so we can make more progress, I think. Subconsciously, or it's, a way of looking at it, I think sometimes. One other thing this movie got me thinking about, and then we can probably wrap up thoughts and get into casting. So a friend of mine, the same friend with the story, Bernard, we were talking like Arnold came up at a time where if it seemed like if you were just buff, if you were a bodybuilder, you could be a movie star.
Yeah.
And we were like, why is that? And I determined this kind of theory about things. When something is kind of new or under the radar, the people interested are more interesting people, because it's people that either really love the thing or they already kind of on the outskirts, or they're strange people to get involved with something that's not popular, right? And bodybuilding was new. It was so new.
It's like
and
freakish to people. Yeah. Like, who are these weirdos?
Was freakish. Why would you be that big? Is that even possible for anybody but you? It seemed like a genetic miracle. But now, I mean, I go on Instagram, everybody's a bodybuilder. You can be a bodybuilder. There's millions of bodybuilders now. So you can't, so the top bodybuilders aren't as interesting of characters as like Stallone was, or the other really buff guys that were doing movies in the 70s and 80s. And like Schwarzenegger, I mean, he's clearly like a one of one, just personality. Like,
for sure.
Even in that first bodybuilding movie, it was like, this guy is insane.
He
He's
stands
saying
out.
crazy thing. He stands
Pumping
out.
iron. Yeah.
Pumping iron.
And so now if you went to like bodybuilders and were like, who's like interesting enough that could capture America's attention, you'd be like, none of them. Because now just any Joe Blow is going to do it. It's a popular thing. And popular people, sad to say, are just not always the most interesting people.
I like that theory. So now we got to find people who are into something that is a little niche and interesting and unique.
Can anything even be that niche anymore? Like everything gets,
I see.
Even if you're doing something that's not like the most popular thing, your following is so big that it's just not like, it's not like what it, the time for that may not even exist anymore.
It does. It also sounds like good advice potentially for a writer who's trying to come in, where I think like to say, write your thing, write the thing that's specific to you, that you like, the kind of movie you want to see if you're a screenwriter. Don't worry about writing the kind of thing you think that will sell. Because I think it is a similar thing with like the movie that ends up getting optioned. It's like the reason why someone buys that movie is it's unlike other things that they've seen. Right? Because there's tons of people that are trying to write the next Terminator 2 or the next Die Hard or these things. And so similarly, it's like that thing that makes you a little weird could prove to be valuable. It could prove to be the thing that like sets you apart from other people.
Yeah, that makes sense. And isn't that like also the appeal to having a writer's room full of inclusive writers room, diverse writers room?
Different life experiences. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
I also like how, kind of getting back to the movie, this is maybe my last real point, and then you guys let me know what you got. But just a little kind of slapsticky comedy here and there.
Oh yeah.
Like obviously Arnold, when he gets his clothes, when he learns English, he's like hasta la vista. What other phrases did he have?
That's funny like, that's your example of learning English, because it's Spanish.
Some Spanish words. But the kid is like,
right.
Oh man, I thought I wrote it down. I can't find it.
It was like California slang.
California slang.
Yeah. Like, what was it, like bozo or chill out? And
like, chill out, bozos. Some crap like that.
There's also a part where he gives I just wrote down Matumbo finger. I forget if it was Arnold or T1000, but someone like beats somebody
Yeah.
up or does something and then does this. I think it's
He just
Arnold.
goes numb.
Oh, I missed that. That's great.
There's a part at the end
Wags
with
his finger.
T-1000 when he gets in the helicopter and he tells the guy, get out of the chopper, get out
Yeah.
of the helicopter. It's
Yeah.
like,
Get out.
why is that line there? Just a little funny tit for tat, some things like that.
Uh-huh. A
Uh,
lot of classic lines. that I'm
fun, like
sure we're tapped.
spotting actors thing. Did you guys notice that the SWAT team, when they go into the robotics factory, the lead
Mhm.
SWAT guy is this actor Dean Norris, who's the brother-in-law in Breaking Bad.
From Breaking Bad. Wow. I didn't know
Oh.
that.
I was like looking at his face. I was like, I know that guy. I had to look it up on IMDb. And there was a period where he was in
Wow.
like 6 movies where he was a SWAT officer. He like that was his
Wow.
thing.
That's so great.
That's
No, I did
funny.
not
Love
notice
it.
that. That's incredible. So you're saying this is in the Breaking Bad universe?
This is in the Breaking Bad universe.
Right. That was his start.
Yeah.
He should have had a line in Breaking Bad like, you won't believe the things I've seen.
Some of the shit I saw.
Back in the 90s.
I almost got blown up in a robotics factory.
Arnold's gun flip is just one of the coolest reloads. It's the coolest reload in movies.
Mhm.
And I read it fucked up his finger.
Oh,
It
really?
was like tearing the skin off his finger,
Oh,
but he
shit.
knew it. They needed the shot, so he kept doing it.
He just kept doing it. Wow.
Oh, that's great. I love the Arnold first introduction when he's shooting at the T-1000 in that little hallway in the mall,
Uh-huh.
where he pulls the gun out the box of roses.
Oh yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
that feels like such a 90s scene where there's a gun with roses, doves probably around,
Yeah,
where you drop the roses
Guns N'
because
Roses.
it's Guns N' Roses,
Guns
baby.
N' Roses.
And the
It's also-
Godfather shot too.
Yeah, I was gonna say Godfather.
Yeah.
Yeah, Godfather. The only thing this movie is really missing is a great ballad. It needs. I don't know where it fits.
Yeah.
There's no love
Right.
story really.
The
but
score is iconic, but yeah, there's no
yeah,
ballad.
there's no 90s ballad.
Yeah. Who would it be at the time period? Who would do the ballad in the
Oh.
90s?
Anybody. That was a time of ballad. This one
Yeah.
probably would have been like a John. Who's Michael Bolton would have done a
Mm.
ballad for Terminator 2.
Speaking of sound, I was reading about all the sound effect work they had to do for this movie, and there's like
Mhm.
whole sequences where there is no authentic sound. It was all stuff they recorded. So even like the leather on Arnold Schwarzenegger's like clothes like rubbing against each other was all put in afterwards. But they're talking about all the effects they had to come up with for like liquid metal because it was like not a sound people have heard before.
Mhm.
So like one of the things that they did was it was like putting cups into something like pudding or jello or something, but it's like the sound of a cup going into something like jello,
Mhm.
which is like this weird, very specific sound, but it's like the sound of liquid metal coming together in this movie.
Wow.
That's great.
They had to
Yeah,
be real
really creative. Yeah, stuff.
Casting.
Great, let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Quick note about James Cameron. He's got a few Black people in his movies. He's not obviously a diverse filmmaker.
Mm-mm.
True Lies definitely has some issues, but that's where people were at the time that movie came out, and its depiction of Arabs and Muslims,
Right.
But like Aliens has Black people, and Joe Morton's in this, even though he does die, but it works in the story, and I don't know.
It's not like a stereotypical role, right? It's not, yeah.
It's a good role. He's a
Mhm.
computer scientist, he's the smartest guy on the planet at the time.
Mhm.
Avatar has its own issues. I don't know. James Cameron is definitely a white dude.
Yeah, he's
And he's
white.
really like a middle
Can't escape
America
it.
kind of white in who he is, and he makes like movies for people in
Mhm.
non-coastal people.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
actively
really for
said-
everybody. Yeah.
That's what he said. He's actively been like, I want to make movies for the largest audience ever.
Yeah.
So it makes sense. Makes sense.
And that
why
always
he's-
skews white first. When they say largest audience ever, they definitely mean like the most white people first. And then
Mhm.
it's like, well, if you're Black,
Right.
please
Why
come out
not?
and see like the biggest movie ever.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's not really like for you,
Right.
This is
Mhm.
one thing we didn't really say in the first season. I'm gonna say here, then we'll do casting. It is strange when you think about it, for all the strife with Black and white, how infrequently white people watch Black programming. or even listen to Black music. But I know like hip hop has obviously had a big white audience, and some of the more popular music. White people like Motown and throughout the history, but like especially in TV, like asking a white person if they've seen, if it's not like Jordan Peele's Nope is going to get a diverse audience. It's going to get white people are going to see that, but you're not going to watch just so many programs on TV and in movies, and it's like, but movies are a window in to another culture. It's like, I wish there were more of an imperative in this country for white people to also see Black movies, to also watch Black TV shows. When if you are Black, you are almost forced to watch white-led programs if you want to watch TV and watch movies with any kind of, with any regularity, up to like just a normal pace of doing that thing. So
that seems like it's also someone on like the executives who are probably also white, sort of trusting, oh, I can cast this Black actor as the lead, and white people can identify with that character still. I don't have to worry about that. In the same way that, like you said, like Black audiences have always had to identify with white protagonists because they had no other option.
And like when there's a foreign movie that hits, that comes over here, and it's like, oh, we want to get a view into that culture and that culture, but you can learn about a whole nother culture right here. You know what I mean? Go through the catalog of Black movies and watch more than just like, I don't know, Color Purple and 12 Years. Like go watch Barbershop. You know what I mean? Go watch,
Right.
And for some people, it's like both, experience another culture, but also just like experience how the ways you're not different. We're like, oh yeah, we have the same problems. We have the same goals.
Yeah.
All right, we're getting the casting. This is actually a short casting, not a big
cast. I only cast 5 characters.
Yeah, same. 5.
I only did 4. I didn't do the kid because kids are, I would just
I almost skipped the kid, but I went with an old reliable for the kid.
Nice.
Yeah, have to.
Okay.
All right, I'll start. I'm excited about this.
Let's do it.
I was telling you before casting got a little quirky. My Schwarzenegger, my Arnold, my T800, LeBron James. Obviously, huge star, and it's a role that doesn't require a lot of acting, a lot of emotion, right? You're a robot, right? So you don't have to bring in an actor. He's obviously like physically very impressive, like Arnold Schwarzenegger is. I bet he could do all the action stuff. He's like from like commercials and the stuff he does, like I think he could do at least as well as Schwarzenegger does, like the little bits of comedy, the like sort of awkward robot comedy stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, he's my T800.
Crossed my mind as well. LeBron,
really?
Just an athlete. Yeah, I was like, man, maybe I gotta go athlete for this to get that physicality.
Well, wait till you hear about my T1000.
I'll go next, and Amon can send us home. I went with it was hard because Arnold was maybe 40 at this time or 30s. And I don't know who at that age is really like. So I went with Idris Elba.
Yep.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, I can see it, and he's a great actor.
Great actor. He'll figure it out.
He's almost too good. Where it's like you got to really just be like, Idris, you don't have to do that much.
Tone it down.
Pull back. Yeah.
He seems to be game for almost anything, so I think he would definitely like robot lock in. And he's like already a solid dude. He doesn't have to work out too hard to get, and he doesn't have to be. This movie isn't about the the muscles in that way. So
the issue with Idris is like if he gets that skin pulled out of his eye and you get to see that red eye, I feel like that's just sex symbol right there.
Yeah, he's
like, too sexy.
He's too sexy. It's just going to be too much.
So Terminator's main weapon, sex appeal. His second weapon, shotgun.
Yeah. All right. I tried the first one. Let's pull out the shotgun.
Yeah.
So for my Terminator, I was thinking physicality and that ability to just play a robot. And then I also want to give this guy a huge role. So I went with Michael Jai White or Jay White.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Dynamite.
Yeah, Black Dynamite. Yeah. He's
He
been in a
was the original
million
Spawn.
things.
Oh, okay.
He's been in a million things as like a side thing. He's been in The Dark Knight. He's been in just
Yeah.
so many things. And he's a professional martial artist. He's buff as
He's
hell.
buff, yeah.
He'd be
strong.
great.
I thought about him too. I just went with a bigger name, but he does seem like he's made for a role like this.
Yes.
He's probably played one in some smaller movie, some kind of cyborg or something.
Guaranteed like a lower budget type of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, straight to VHS.
T-1000.
All right. Ready?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Oh yeah.
And
The
there's
NBA on T2.
and there's sort of this like meta thing of like he's the newer, better version. This like this
Yeah.
interesting thing of like, oh, he's the new one that
Yeah.
they sent. And just imagine him
Bigger, stronger,
sprinting
faster.
after a bike.
Oh my
And
God.
also like that game face you see sometimes he puts on this thing where you're like,
Yeah.
oh, he looks like he could kill somebody.
He's such a beast.
Such a
Um,
beast.
and
Right.
similarly, like I think he could do like a robotic, like very cold performance.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and that accent too. Oh, that'd be great.
And he barely has to talk. But yeah, when he does, we've got a foreign accent.
Those long arms. He doesn't even need to turn them into claws. He could just
Yeah.
like.
Yeah. You would
That's-
believe he would catch the bike. He'd be like, oh, there's no way he doesn't catch the
Yeah.
bike.
It's like, man, you better get a goddamn rocket ship. Giannis coming after you. My
Guaranteed.
T-1000, Mahershala Ali.
Ooh,
Nice.
yeah.
Also
Yeah, you
kind
got
of the meta,
real
like
solid
the
actors. Yeah.
kind of the meta next young or slightly younger, guy coming up.
Mhm.
He kind of has that angular face like this actor did.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Give him a flat top, Mahershala.
Cool.
That's great. That's great. My T1000 is I'm going with an old, solid choice, great actor, Jonathan Majors.
Oh yeah.
I could just view him running.
I didn't even think about him for the lead, but he probably could have done one of them.
He could have done either, but I think he's scary. I think he could be scary.
He's younger. Yeah, it makes sense that
Yeah.
he's
Mhm.
T1000.
That's a good call. That's a good call.
Yeah.
Sarah Connor.
Sarah
So-
Connor.
My strategy was NBA players as these guys, surround them with good actors.
Mhm.
So
I
Sarah
thought you were
Connor,
gonna say Paige Buchers or
no WNBA player. No, yeah.
Word.
Honestly, I did think for a second about what's her
Skylar
face? No, who? Candace Parker,
Candace.
but Nicole Bahari. I think I've cast her in stuff before.
Yeah.
But
She's
I
great.
think she's just like a really great actor, and I could picture her in that part. Like I could picture her in the mental hospital. I could
Mhm.
picture her getting jacked and fighting people.
She just got cast in season 3 for the morning show.
Oh yeah. Oh cool.
So good for her. She's killing it. And that's great casting.
Oh yeah,
I
totally.
picked Janelle Monáe.
Oh yeah. Oh,
Ooh,
interesting.
yeah. Yeah.
Definitely a pod favorite.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Can't wait to see what she does next. Amon, who you got?
I went with a little bit of it's a little bit of a reach, but I just want to see this person play serious,
Queen
and I know
Latifah.
she can. Not not Queen Latifah. She
Tiffany
kill it,
Haddish?
though. Not Tiffany Haddish. No.
My favorite.
Kiki
She's
Palmer.
great. Kiki Palmer could do it. She could do it.
For
Good.
sure, she could.
I went with Tracy Ellis Ross.
Oh,
Interesting picturing her
Nice.
in an action movie. Yeah.
I
yeah.
think you want to see that change. She's gonna win an Oscar on this one because she's gonna play so intense that it's gonna be like, dang, I didn't know
Oh.
Tracy had it.
It'd be interesting to see her jacked.
Yeah, I do
Like
want
have
to
a
see her do
trainer
pull-
for a couple months and be like, whoa.
I don't mind. I would watch her do pull-ups. I could think she'd kill some pull-ups. Just get
Cool.
buff as hell. Oh,
So I also cast John Connor. I almost didn't because it's a kid thing, but the twist is changing it from John Connor to Joanna Connor. So change it to a girl.
Hmm.
Where
Okay.
she's the future leader that they're going back to kill.
mhm.
And cast podcast favorite Mersai Martin, who I cast in most of my
Excellent.
young teen roles.
Yes,
She's probably also the producer of the movie. And
Yeah,
guaranteed. She's got some
Yeah.
thoughts on the script.
you
It's
might
a
direct
whole
it. Yeah.
deal. Yeah, she might
did you do
direct it.
John Connor,
I-
Amon?
Yeah, I did, and I went with A little older now, but still looks very young and could be like that role. Had to go with the Alex Hibbert from Moonlight.
Oh yeah.
The youngest kid. The
Yep.
youngest
Cool.
kid. That
I'll roll
intense
with
little
that.
face, being
Mhm.
upset.
I did cast one other role, the Joe Morton role. I picked a white guy. I did a race.
Oh yeah. I was
Ah,
thinking about it.
okay.
Yeah. Or casting a different. Yeah.
And it was tough. I was like, just any white guy. But I ended up just going with Jeremy Strong from Succession.
Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
Ooh,
Yeah.
yeah.
No
Yeah.
reason in particular. Just kind of was thinking of a skinny white guy that maybe wasn't too famous, but was
That
pretty
feels
famous.
right to me. I can buy him as a scientist. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I cast him as black and just
Great.
recast him, made him younger. And it was between these two people, and I'm still struggling trying to decide, depending on the budget, we'll see. One of them being Mos Def,
Okay.
just to watch him sweat and hold that little thing and be like, I don't know how much longer I can see it.
It's a good one.
Breathing so hard. That was great.
Yeah, until he drops it. And then the other was Alfonso Ribeiro, who
Oh
Bring him
yeah.
back.
let's bring him back.
We've
Let's
cast
get
him in something else. Yeah, we've got to get that going.
Yeah, we
great.
love Alfonso. Great, man. This was
The only
fun.
other part I did was Dr. Soberman, the like guy who's keeping Sarah
yeah.
Connor.
Ooh,
That was like-
that's a
that's
good
actually like-
role.
Got a
That
lot
has
of
done
lines.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great
And
role.
I cast Forrest Whitaker.
Nice. Mhm.
Yeah.
I couldn't think of like I wanted someone creepier, and I couldn't really think of who that guy would be.
Yeah,
This guy who
Where are the creepy guys now? Where are the
Yeah.
creepy black guys? Get some creepy black guys.
Yeah. if you guys can think of like a 60-year-old creepy black guy, let me know.
I'm tired of everybody being so cool. Give me some freaks and creeps
Got a little bit
Yes.
of
on these
creepy.
movies and shows. I want some weirdos.
Yeah.
Not felonious weirdos. Just like
No. Just like weird character actors that are like, oh yeah, let's throw this
with
person.
unique
He's
looks.
scary.
No more square jaws. I want jaws all over the place.
Mhm.
Let's bring back the uneven jaw.
Bring back
Yeah.
the uneven jaw. Cleft chins.
Mhm. Dang, yeah. Who would it be? Now I'm like, there's got to be someone.
Yeah, I went with like Forrest Whitaker is a good enough actor. He can bring that to it.
He can
but
kill it.
I can't
Yeah.
think of someone where you just picture them and immediately are like, oh, that guy. It's kinda-
Mhm. Yeah.
Well, we'll figure it out in future casting.
Yeah, I'll
This
bring
one
it
was-
back.
Exactly.
This one was really fun to do. I'm glad we did it.
Yes.
Just enjoyed watching it again. And
Mhm.
One little Easter egg I forgot to mention: Denzel Washington turned down the role Joe Morton took. They offered it to him to be the scientist.
yeah, it was too late.
Yeah.
This was after
Oh,
X.
for Denzel.
Oh yeah, he was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come on.
He was just like, I don't want to be the guy who gets killed.
Yeah. He's like, I should be the damn Terminator at that
Right.
point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be a great Terminator.
Cool,
But-
man. Good pod. What are you gonna say,
So
Amon?
amazing.
You gonna wrap us up?
I was just gonna say this is a great movie to come back on. It was all these great nostalgic memories. You can't go wrong with Terminator 2. It keeps you interested. You watch it, you go, this is a movie,
Mhm.
and it's trying to entertain me, and it's succeeding.
And still, like we
Uh,
said, has a lot of interesting themes, both intentional and maybe unintentional about
Yeah.
what it says about people.
Yeah,
Definitely.
totally. So thank you, Jim Cameron. We appreciate you.
Jim Camera.
We appreciate you for making
Dipset.
this. Dipset.
Oh, later.
Peace.
Peace. Till next time.
Fun times.